Greetings and salutations, young true believers. So, we are talking about this debate regarding are scientific explanations limited to natural causes, right? And so, what's at stake in this debate? Ultimately, what's at stake in this debate is whether or not there's evidence, genuine evidence for intelligent design, and whether or not that should be incorporated into scientific explanations. Now, there is no doubt that some sciences are informed by what you might call uh, agent they're infused with agency is what we want to say, meaning what, like the social sciences, obviously the focus of the social sciences, anthropology, history, economics, sociology, psychology, right, are the subjects. What they study are the human subjects. So obviously you're dealing with agents there. The question is, does the same thing apply to the hard, so-called hard sciences, right? Is there any evidence that there of agency in the phenomena that we study in chemistry, biology, astronomy, physics, right? And so for Gordon, right, that is to say Bruce Gordon, he thinks there is, and he thinks that those who are committed to what he calls metaphysical metaphysical naturalism is the view that there simply is no such thing as a god or any kind of transcendent intelligence operating in the universe or governing what happens uh, among with respect to natural phenomena, right? Um, and he thinks methodological naturalists, right? Methodological naturalism being the view that even if there is a God or some kind of superhuman intelligence, right, um, we should conduct science as if you know, the existence of such a being was irrespective, right? It simply didn't matter, right? We should treat the phenomena we're treating as part of a world of closed causes and effects. That is to say, not being intervened upon by any god. So, you know, excuse me one second here. Mr. Bishop, Robert Bishop points out, right? Um, Even believers among scientists, like for example, Sir Isaac Newton, who's definitely a believer in God. As a matter of fact, he wrote more, almost as much theology as he did science. Right? Um, he, despite being a believer, was a methodological naturalist. But Gordon, this is Bishop's critique. Gordon wants to lump in all methodological naturalists with uh, metaphysical naturalists and saying they're one and the same. They just they categorically rule out any consideration of intelligent design, right? So Bishop quotes Gordon here at the top of page 228. In other words, when doing science, the methodological naturalist operates as if metaphysical naturalism were true. Whatever he or she might otherwise believe about the existence of a transcendent gang, again, meaning above and beyond human sensory experience, right? Again, whatever he or she might otherwise believe about the existence of a transcendent reality and its effects on the universe in which we live, right? And Bishop notes this is more than a gloss on methodological naturalism. It's to fundamentally mischaracterize it, right? Kepler, he notes, Galileo, Boyle, and Newton, for example, did not practice metaphysical or methodological naturalism as if metaphysical naturalism were true. They practiced methodological naturalism as the best approach for understanding natural properties and processes as God's creation. And that's right. Um, they wanted to understand the natural world because they thought that was God's processes at work. So it's not just knee-jerk reaction among atheists in science, right? It's not that. It's saying we do better science, we do our best science when we consider the world as such and don't necessarily read intelligent design. And I mean, here's a problem, right? If we start reading agency and we start reading motives into the natural world, the danger there is that we're projecting human values and human motivations and human tendencies onto the natural world and saying the world behaves, the universe, if you will, behaves like human beings. And there's no reason at all to suppose that. That's a complete non-starter, right? Now, to really bring this home, right? Bishop has this brilliant passage here. I think it's brilliant on page 229. Do you understand why ignoring different forms of inquiry is problematic? Consider Gordon's claim that DNA, RNA, and other complex biological phenomena are information processing systems. It does not matter that there might be a mathematically precise formula of complex specified information to apply such biological phenomena. By itself, this does not tell us whether such phenomena actually are information processing systems. Biology and biochemistry communities do not have settled views on the phenomena in their domain as information processing systems. Now, that's significant because Gordon claims otherwise, and it's not accurate. This fact is evidence that there currently is no objective way to determine the truth of the ontological. Okay, gang, so there's some information here to unpack. Metaphysics is that branch of philosophy that deals with the ultimate nature of reality. We're going to get to that in the second half of this course. Ontology is a branch of metaphysics that deals with what can be said to exist. So that's what we're talking about, what can be said to exist. So this fact is evidence that there currently is no objective way to determine the truth of the ontological claim that DNA and RNA are information processing systems. Intelligent design advocates are not free to assume that these phenomena are information processing systems. That simply begs the question. Remember, begging the question, circular reasoning is a logical fallacy. It's where you smuggle the conclusion of your argument into the premises of your argument and try to use the conclusion as a premise in that same argument. It makes the argument self-referential, circular. And Bishop goes on, no, this is not a matter of confusing so-called complex specified information with Shannon information. Now, I just learned about this myself recently. So Claude Shannon was an American mathematician who wanted to find ways, his career project, his life project was to find ways to preserve information transfer across long distances. And his research led to the creation of things like zip files and other kinds of compressed files with which we're very commonly familiar today. So you see Shannon information, don't be confused about that. Look Claude Shannon up in your library or in a Google search, and there's a wealth of information about him and his work. So he goes on, it's a matter of ontology. Here we have an example where intelligent design supporters first need to establish that agentic, that is to say, things that hint at intelligence, right? Agentic forms of inquiry are relevant because the key intelligent design assumption is an engineering one. Intelligent causes are the creators of information processing systems. In the 18th century, students, David Hume argued against that. He noted that's a very common, it's an instance of a very common psychological phenomenon that we recognize today, namely projection. We're projecting human values, human motivations, human inclinations onto the natural world when we do that, right? It's saying, oh, the world behaves like an intelligent being designed it. That's us reading our motivations into the natural world. So again, be wary of that tendency. Now, this is our last chapter on epistemology. Next week, we start with metaphysics. Again, metaphysics being the philosophical study of the ultimate nature of reality. And so the topics that we will cover include the existence of God, human free will, and the mind-body problem. All of those debates, you should know, are no longer considered properly metaphysical. But the one metaphysical debate that is still canonically metaphysical that we'll talk about is the debate concerning universals and particulars, or nominalism, right? And what is this? Universal is metaphysical realism. In this instance, in this case, right, is the view that classes of things exist. So apart from individual men and women, there is a class of things, men, women, people, right? Apart from individual chairs, there are classes of things that really exist called chairs, right? In opposition to that is the view nominalism, which is the view that only individual things exist, only particular things exist. There are no universal classes of things. So we'll look at those debates.